meeting to order.
No YouTube.
No YouTube.
Huh? It's loading.
It's showing.
It's not this that time.
Yeah. Should be.
Okay, Mr. Gaslin is here. He has a presentation to discuss Sumter's financial. And, if you have a question during his presentation, raise your hand. And, make your questions, right, exactly what you want and not, 10 minutes long. You think, this is a long presentation. You're on. Bill.
Yeah, my name is Rob Gaslin. I was CPA for Downey Paper City, and I've been doing the financial work for the city of Sumter since 2019. So we're going on 6 years now. So why are we here? Well, we got here because we've identified some concerning trajectories, trends in the city. As some of you guys have attended the regular meetings, you've seen me stand up here the last 3 meetings and say, hey, what are your questions? What are your concerns? What do you want to know about financials in the city? Those have been incorporated into this. And then, I invited as many people as we could get to this meeting. We even put it in the bills, and we moved the time back 4 to 7 to try and get as many people here as we can. The whole point is to try and be transparent, right? I mean, that's what we're here to do, is public information, public meeting. That's where we're at. So the whole point of this presentation is we're going to kind of provide a basic understanding of what the funds are, and then and then what the revenue sources are, and then kind of what the trajectory is for the city. We're going to talk where the city is right now, and then I'm going to share a potential solution. What I'm not going to do is tell you what to do. That's not my role. My role is done as soon as I've shared with council and with you guys kind of where I see the city's trajectory going. And if you guys want to make a decision, council, on a direction to go, to maybe bolster the general fund, bolster the street fund. So those are the 2 areas of focus we're going to have. We're going to go through all the city's funds, but we're going to spend most of the time on the general fund and the city, the street fund. Because that is what's funded with taxpayer dollars, with franchise fees, some of these other items. Mostly, your revenues are stagnant. We haven't increased revenues dramatically. Measure 5 is limited property tax growth. You're going to see it's very stagnant here in a second. And so property taxes are a very, very small portion of what make up the city's revenue. Most of the revenue comes from the water and sewer funds, but we're not going to touch on those because the water and sewer funds are through bills. Are through fees. So you pay for the water, and you shouldn't be paying any more than the cost of the water delivery and future maintenance. That's all that looks like. So anyway, we're gonna go through that. I'm also not gonna spend too much time on flea market. You guys ready to turn out to be for flea market? I don't really care about flea market. I mean, you guys do what you want on flea market. It's a very small portion of the city's finances, and I'm talking about the city's finances. So move on there. So just an overview of fund types really quick. We have governmental types, we have proprietary funds, and then there can be internal services funds. We don't use those. And then just kind of what the general restrictions on use are, and then why multiple funds exist in city budgeting. General fund. This is the fund that every government has. It's the one that we care the most about, because if it's in deficit, there's really no way to refill that except for increasing revenues or cutting costs. Those are your choices. How does it get its money? Property taxes, franchise fees. So franchise fees is what we charge to like your utility providers, like Baker Sanitary. Isn't Baker Sanitary up here? I think it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Baker Sanitary comes up. They have to pay a fee to the city for the right to be the exclusive provider. It's actually a fee that they just pass right on to you guys. So that's another way of being taken care of. State shared revenue. State sends us some money. We also get grants. And HB 2014 are special taxes assessed on sale of cannabis products. And we do get a share of those. But what do we do? What do we fund with the general fund? Well, we fund admin, we fund parks, flea market. Those are all general fund functions. Total revenue for 2025 is $208,000. Property taxes is what everybody talks about when we talk about general fund, right? Because you pay, it's near and dear to our hearts. We're gonna talk a lot about property taxes. This is how much money the city received in total for general fund property taxes. You have two property tax elements that you pay for here. This is the smaller of the two. The other is a bond. It was passed in 2000 and it lasts for 40 years. When that's paid off, that tax goes away. It's about one, I'll tell you the exact amount, but it's about $1 per thousand of assessed value. That's not included in these numbers because that is restricted for a specific purpose to pay down the debt. Anyway, so you can see about 30,000, a little over, a little under some years. These are from permanent rate taxes. Measure 5 says you can't increase your permanent rate taxes. It's always going to be the same amount. You can make it less, but that's just going to make the problem worse. And so permanent rate taxes can't be changed. The only way you change taxes, increase, the only way to do that is a levy. It has to go to the voters. Council can't do anything with it. So if it's determined that the property taxes need to change, the only option is to go to a vote of the people, has to get a majority of the vote in a general election, and it's a 5-year levy. Because it's for operating purposes, it's a 5-year rolling levy. We already do this for the library. You ever seen the library come on the election on the ballot, right? They have a 5-year rolling levy to help supplement what they do. And it's been voted in every year for that. Property taxes. Let's talk about what you pay. You don't pay 79 cents per thousand. That's what the city gets. 79.87 cents per thousand. You pay $12.81 per thousand. The rest of it goes to the county. It goes to weed control districts. It goes to fire, maybe depending on where you actually are. And it goes to 5G, Baker 5G. So all of those, that's what you feel when you pay it. That's what the city actually gets for operations. This is for the water bond that I mentioned. It doesn't even cover the full cost of the water bond. Part of that water bond is paid by your water and sewer rates. And so there's that. That ends in 2040. So when you pay your property tax bill, only 6% of that property tax bill actually makes it to the city. Just so we're on the same page here, because I hear all the time, we pay too much in property taxes, right? Everybody pays too much. I assure you, I live in a bigger city, I pay way too much in property taxes. Okay, here's the kind of the breakout of what makes up the share of the revenue coming into the general fund. This is data for 2025. You didn't used to have this. Started maybe 8 years ago. This is that cannabis product tax revenue, makes up 20% of your revenue. Flea market makes up 13% of the revenue for the general fund. Property taxes make up 16%. And state revenue sharing, 3%. And in 2025, grants made up 19%. This is general fund picture of your net income. You're not a business, but I'm going to use the term net income because I feel like most people understand that. We call this actually changes by balance if we were talking governmental. What this is a snapshot of what your net is. We lost 113,000 back in 2021. Why? Legal fees. We were paying through the nose for legal fees for a specific lawsuit. We rebounded because that got settled. We started coming back up in 2022. This was entirely grant. When the fire district or the fire enterprise got the fuels reduction grant, and that we are still carrying over $70 some of those dollars now. But that goes into your general fund. We can't actually use most of those dollars because they're restricted by but that still was part of that income. In 2024, we got a few more grants. Had a good year on HB 2041 taxes, things like that. And then 2025, we're down. We lost $25,000. Because this was all grants, you can't really include that in how well we did. So that's the general fund snapshot. Fire department. This is a sub-department or department of the general fund. It's not its own thing. It's any loss in that is subsidized by the general. Okay. If it made income, But as we saw with the grant, it boosts your general fund. This does not include grant expenditures out of that fire fuels reduction grant. The subsidy for fire was $17,000 in 2025. That's pretty typical. That's about where it resides. Sometimes higher, sometimes lower. Depends on what. And fire comes to council and says, "Hey, I want to do this." Council says yes. Council says no. Whatever. But that's how those dollars are extended on the city side. And then of course it's used for fire operations. Their revenue sources are minimal. Donations for sales and lead grants. Parks Department, another area of general fund. Loss for 2025 was $23,000. So the subsidy that the tax dollars, franchise fees, all that stuff had to pay for because it didn't generate its own revenue, $23,000. This does not include flea market. That's a separate fund. We'll talk about that in a second. Revenues, grants, donations, reimbursements. It's just to operate the parks and do those kinds of things. And we do segregate flea market operation from parks operation. But this still, one of the biggest costs of this is insuring all of the property that is included in parks. And parks includes Wright House, school, all these other buildings that the city owns. They're more recreational type and not actually part of the city operations per se. Flea market. Flea market has posted net income. It does subsidize those other loss functions of parks and fire. And so when it does have net income, that goes back into the general fund. So that supports it. Flea market fees are the only revenue. The only thing we take out of that to offset those costs is our flea market costs. We actually do pretty significant lift to make sure time is tracked and charged to that for any time our guys spend there. All the supplies, all the services like toilets, things like that go there. And then also the dust abatement that's required in the lawsuit has been charged to. This is your income the last 3 years for flea market. We made $10,000 in 2023. This is net. We made $10,000 in 2023, just under 6 in 2024, and just over 6 in 2025. That's why I say it's a small portion of what we do. Could it be run better? I'm not here to have that conversation. I know that's out there. Just gonna leave it there. I'd rather not have that conversation. That's for council and you guys to discuss. Another idea that is commonly brought up: why did we get rid of Independence Day flea market? This is the analysis that was done back in 2021 that broke out revenue and our net income by events. You can see it was actually for the whole year significantly lower than what we had in 23, 24, 25. Independence Day lost money. That's why it was there. Okay. Street fund. So that was the general fund. Any questions on general fund specifically? Okay. Street fund. Street fund is integrally tied to the general fund. We have a street fund because we receive dollars from the state called, every time you fill up your gas tank, you pay a gas tax. We get a share of the gas tax. It's not much, but we have to have it so that we can spend it on roads. It's the only thing we're allowed to spend it on. We subsidize the street fund through the general fund because every year it's a loss. What goes into street fund? Well, we pay for plowing costs, we pay for street lighting, we pay for insurance related to the street, and the time associated with all of those functions. That's it. So all that goes in that, because that's by law, you can only charge those things to the street. We do sometimes get grants, and those go through the street fund if the street related. And this year we had a grant. This year we paid down on that grant. This is street fund. And this one is a little easier to see. General fund was all over the place. This one's pretty much like that. Lost $32,000 last year in street fund. That is subsidized by the general fund. You didn't make enough profit because you had a loss in the general fund in 2025, so you couldn't subsidize. That's the issue. That's why we're having this meeting. I'm just trying to present the issue because I'm not doing my job if I'm not sharing with council, with city voters and things like that to just tell you there's an issue happening here. If we run out of money, it's not going to be on my watch, but I'm loudly presenting this to all of you. What you do with this information, that's your call. We'll get to that in a second. But anyway, so you can see the trajectory on it. Now I'm just gonna quickly talk about the other funds because they are here. You don't need to spend a lot of time on them. Water bonded debt, that's where your $1.1 per thousand comes in for property taxes. We also transfer money in from the water fund to make the debt payment every year. That's the only thing that's in this fund. It's an in and out. Cemetery fund, very minimal activity. It's starting to get more, but it is its own separate fund. So if we sell plots, we could take that money, transfer it into the general fund if there's a net proceed. But we gotta pay for all the expenses, whatever that looks like in making those plots out of that cemetery fund. Water fund really should not be used for general fund subsidy. We charge a water fee, and the water fee is meant to support their farm, just so you can get your water. Sewer is the exact same thing, not used to support the this is stuff I included just for general information. I'm not sure it really applies. If we really want to talk about budget basis of accounting, well, we can talk about it. Fund balance is just the only piece of this that's important is that's when we have a net amount of cash, we carry that over year. And so we use that in the budgeting process as a beginning fund balance to supplement the revenue from the current year to meet expenses. And I'm gonna skip through that. Grants. Okay, talk about grants a lot. There's just so many misconceptions out there. You guys may all know this stuff. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here. When you get a grant, you can only use it for what you applied for, right? You get a sewer grant for infrastructure. It seems silly, but there's so many misconceptions out there of, hey, you got this $500,000 grant. I don't want a sewer plant. I want to spend it for streets. Can't do that. That's all. I'm not trying to talk down to anybody. I just want to make sure that's out there so we all understand. Where do grants come from? Typically federal and state resources. What is a cost share? Oftentimes the grant will have a cost share. So we get $100,000 project. We apply for a grant. They say, awesome, we'll give you $80,000. City's got to come up with this. So sometimes grants aren't free. You have to pay for them with money from water, sewer, and those related. It's like the library building, park. You have to pay for it out of general. That's just trying to get information out there, make sure that's clear. This stuff I think is much more pertinent to what we're talking about, because I think it matters to everybody. I wanted to line out where this is all public information published by the county. This is the latest, right hot off the presses, they just published this. This is the tax burden by city that's similarly situated in Baker County. I know Grant County is different. I was not able to get Grant County's information because they haven't published it yet. It's very much hot off the press on Baker County right now. So now this again does not include your debt. You pay the $1.1 per thousand. So this is just for operations, what goes into the general fund. None of these numbers include debt restricted funds either. This is all operations. Sumter has the lowest operating tax base of any of these cities. And your tax burden is $12 and 8.11 or 0.811 cents per thousand. Every one of these is higher. Not suggesting you change it. I'm just trying to present the information. You can see some of them. Baker City, where I live, I have a $400,000 house and I pay over $6,000 per month. That gives you an idea. That's how much goes to the city for the services they provide. Haynes is double you guys. Huntington is astronomical. I would never recommend going to that kind of attack. They're making I mean, that's as high as it gets. 95 also imposed another restriction. You can never pay more than $10 per thousand of real market value. Now, these amounts you pay are on your assessment. So that's different. Two different numbers. If you look at the tax data, you'll see the real market and the assessed. Usually the real market is significantly higher than the assessed value. So anyway, this is pushing up against the limit of property to be compressed. And so they actually can't, that might be published rate, not everybody's gonna pay that compression. But anyway, I just wanted to give that information out there so you can see where it's at. City staffing, this is another question. Oh yeah, and so what these are, this last slide, this one, and the next one, they're responding to questions that were asked. Where does Sumter fall in property tax comparison? That's what this is. City staff, he was asked, how does our staffing stack up? This is not really publicly available information. It's really hard to get to. So I used information that I have, and I'm gonna tell you what the other town is. The town nearby, may have been listed on the last slide. Very similar in size. It's actually smaller than we are. They spend 156,000 per year in gross salaries. We spend 120,000 a year. So our staffing, at least compared to one entity, was easy for me to attain. Is not outrageous. So you look at that, we have one part-time office staff and 2 full-time public works employees. Trades. So, yeah. This is that next piece is just where are we at? Why are we having this meeting? Well, Street Fund reported 2 profits in the last 5 years. You saw it's accelerating the decrease to the decline. Losses are expected to accelerate as inflation continues. 2 years ago, we had 10% inflation. What are tariffs going to do? I don't know. I'm just telling you, we've had significant inflation. Costs have gone up across the board. And I can tell you, I do this same thing. At least 6 other cities. Every one of them is having this conversation right now. Losses are expected to increase. General fund has posted a profit in 3 of the last 5. But again, at least one of those was mostly grant funded. That was where that came from. So that's the trend we're facing. Any questions before we move into the options side of this? And again, this is where I'm handing it off. Giving you information. I'm going to present to you guys what I think the options are. This is the gospel according to law here. I don't have a dog in this fight. You guys do. You guys are the ones equipped to make this decision. I'm just going to share what I know. You can do nothing. These trends may reverse. I may be wrong. Totally. And then we can just revisit this in the future. It's an option. You can decrease services, decrease costs. The problem with decreasing costs, everybody says decrease costs. You have to decrease services to decrease costs because we're pretty much bare bones. There's not much else there that we can do. I'm not suggesting you decrease snow plowing. I'm saying that's a cost, and maybe there's a way to do it cheaper than we do now and still get the same level of service. You should investigate that. Absolutely. We can look at office hours. Are they the right number? I don't know. And then we saw that we subsidize fire in parks. Is it the right amount that we're subsidizing? I don't know. Those are things that need to be looked at or can be looked at if we're talking about decreasing costs. And maybe we do all of these things or some elements of each of these things. That's for you guys to listen. Or you can raise revenues. Do property taxes. You can do a levy. It has to be renewed every 5 years. That's you guys though. City council cannot do that. In fact, they can't spend a dime lobbying for that. So if that's the direction they want to go, they need your help. If that's the direction the city wants to go, they would need your help because the voters have to implement that. So that's completely in your guys' control. But it would have to be run by somebody who is not the city. The city does get the filing fees for that. And then you guys would determine the amount that you would want that to be. If you want to go down there, I can give you numbers that would help subsidize or help meet the deficit that we're seeing. But at the end of the day, it's in your hand. The thing the city council can do, and I think it's much more aligned, is general fund fees. You can absolutely do general fund fees. Here's the problem. Property taxes are assessed on the value of everybody's property, whether you have a water sewer hookup or not. Okay, so all the visitors that come in for just a short period of time or lots, they're paying into that property tax. If city council says, hey, we're gonna do a public safety fee, for example, that's what Baker City just implemented. Public safety fee, it's gonna go to the water and sewer users. It is an administrative nightmare to try to figure out who owns what property. And I can tell you, it would not be cost effective to do it. You'd be paying for additional work to be done to find all that information out there. So that's the situation. I don't love this option. I'll be honest with you. I think this is the more fair way to do this if you want to go down this road at all. Than this one, because then the cost, whatever revenue has to be raised, is spread over the 300 water and sewer accounts we have rather than every property owner. Because you actually have a really significant tax base in some. If you look it up, it's all published by the county. And then we had lots of suggestions at these meetings these last 3 months of other revenues that we could raise, fees we could do, things like that. We're gonna have to talk through some of those, but I think that's one of these like, and you could do. You could say, well, we're gonna do, maybe cut some subsidies, I don't know, I'm just throwing stuff out there. Maybe do some general fund fees, I don't know, some fees, but now you're putting the burden on. The problem with fees is you're putting the burden on the people who are going to pay it because you have no enforcement. Because people will not pay it, I guarantee you.
Rob,
Yeah,
how much would it cost to do a levy? Is
I would
what,
put a cost.
what is it?
Yeah, so the city would have to pay, if it's a special, it depends on whether it's a special election or a general election.
Mhm.
And the county administers all that stuff and then sends you a portion of the cost. If it's all on your own, if you do a special election, I'm not even sure you can for a levy, I don't think you can. But if you did a special election, those can be upwards of $15,000 to the city. If you do it as part of a general election, like November election or something, it may be as low as $2.
Do you have a suggestion where it should be as far as the change on property tax?
They get amount,
Amount?
the city needs at least 60,000 in
Mhm.
addition, maybe 80.
Okay.
And so if we look at 0.79 being 30,000,
Mhm.
then you need another, double that again. And I mean, like, the additional tab levy will be double that is, so maybe 1.5, 1.6. Something like that, per thousand.
So if you say that, if we needed another $80,000, if we take the $80,000 and say that it's gonna be passed off to the water sewer people, that'd be our 300 plus people.
Yeah.
Which is that's gonna be significant, significant dollar amount. per
Yeah, I
month.
mean, take $60,000 or $80,000 divided by 300 accounts. then
So,
have that be month.
to where if we do it as a levy, to where if we got voted in, then it would go to all taxpayers, right? So then you're probably pushing what, 400 to 500 people?
I don't know.
Or our figure? Huh?
What's that?
409 properties in some.
Matt's done the research. So there you go. Go with this.
So that, at least that would be, it would,
It would spread it out more.
yeah.
And the reality is, if you do a lot of sewer accounts, that's only people that have properties, which is gonna be more, it's gonna be residents. And so I'm not suggesting that let's pawn the tax bill off on people that aren't here all the time, but you're gonna include those folks probably more so in the actual levy as opposed to doing the water sewer.
That's a privilege of having property up here.
Well, I mean, you got services, they have to be paid for something. And that's the best. Okay, so this is just a recap of what I just said. And there are, there's part of these slide decks, or the slide decks over, on the table. I didn't make it out earlier, but these, so there's, I think, 7 or 8 more over there. We can always get you guys more if you want this one. Yeah, voters can approve a temporary increase because it's for operations, it's limited to 5 years. No matter what you want, you can't make it more than 5 years, that's state law. Voters must approve, renewals must be voted on, so every 5 years it would come back up. It would increase to all, to all property owners. And then I did the math on the bottom here. The 1 cent per 1,000 increase yields about $410 increase. General fund. Okay. So city council would approve and create, but any subsequent city council could revoke it. Things do whatever they want. And the precedent set at that point too is now, okay, well, this is what we do now. Who pays? Yeah, utility accounts, like I just said, because it's just cost prohibitive to do. You're gonna waste all your money in the raise by trying to figure out who the property owners are. You figure what their addresses are and all these kinds of things. It's a lot of work to figure that out. And then how much? Well, it'd be determined by council. If only utility customers are charged every $10 a month, yields 3,000 or 3,000 for $10 there. There's 300 accounts. City would, other fees. Okay, so here's just the laundry list of what was suggested. And I tried to take verbatim everything that was given to me. So these are actually suggestions, not from me, but from your own compadres in the region. So you can do ATV license in cities. You can read them. I don't need to read every single one of them. There's 2 pages of these, so I'll pause here for a second. I will say, the problem with all of these is enforcement. And so if we do these, the people that are willing to pay that, and are gonna voluntarily pay that, definitely pay. They'll always be, you don't have to enforce those folks. But if you have to, if you determine you have to enforce because of the unfairness of it, there's costs associated with that. I don't know what they are. You would have to figure that out as we use it. The bottom one, there's no cost associated with that. You got unneeded property, sell. Now, it's not ongoing revenue generation, but it's nice to have a little pot of money sitting there from the sale of assets, for sure. And that is not taxed. You don't need taxes to do that. Also, if you sell them, and it's a person who's not a government who buys them, that adds to your tax base. So now you're getting more money that way. Here's the next. Dump station. Charging for flea market parking. Donations to renovate the park, maybe make the park more desirable and give you matching costs for the grant, which we talked about earlier. There's a couple other ideas to just generally raise money. You know, these aren't gonna necessarily directly support the general fund or the street fund. You can charge for dispensing water bonds for park. Problem with that is that's one. So that goes to the water fund, which is not gonna come into general fund. Plot sales could, because the cemetery doesn't really need a fund ongoing. You can make it, you can move some of that into the general fund if you wanted to. But it would take the next council over time. What are other cities doing? This was another request. For League of Oregon Cities, 51% of cities expect general fund revenues will not keep pace with expenditures, which is just what I said earlier. Every city's facing this. And that was a 2023 report. KGW News says 36 cities in Oregon have some form of general fund service fees. Baker City has recently charged a public safety fees $10 per month, or $10 per month for residential customer and $50 per month for businesses. I did not happy.
How do they bill it?
It's in your water server. And it just says it right on the safety.
But we don't provide cops.
Right.
I understood. Yeah, absolutely. You guys don't, and you couldn't afford it. There's no way. I mean, you have to do, even to just get one deputy up here, because the city of Richland and the city of Howard do this already with the Dade County Sheriff. It's $100,000. That's what it is. Provide one person. Yeah, but you have to pay the full board cost. The amount of these fees vary from $2 per month to $79 per month, depending on the city.
Let's see.
Well,
Yeah.
Question?
okay, I want to make sure here. Do your chart property tax for operation comparison? Now, under the total tax burden, we are taxed 12.81 per thousand, correct?
Yes.
And we receive 0.7987 per thousand.
Yes.
Roughly, that's about 15% of our tax base of what we are taxed. Well, $12 less than $1, that's about 15%. Very rough, okay? Huntington, yeah, they have high taxes, but they're getting 45% of that tax back to the city, if I'm understanding this chart correct.
Yeah.
Right? And then like Baker, 17 high, but they're getting 35% back to the city for operations, correct?
Hold on, John. Just want to make sure we
Okay,
clear on.
17.
Hold on, John. Let's make sure we clear on your map.
right, okay,
That's 6%.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Well, 6%.
okay. But my question is there a way, ridiculous question, for the city to somehow get more of our tax dollars back here? Or is that so regulated by the state? We have no control of this.
So
Why is every city got a giver free coming back to the city for operation?
That's permanent rate, was established in 1995, and the
Yeah.
other five passed.
Okay,
Set whatever rate is in place, that's the number.
and that's what I heard a long time ago, coming from California with the GAN thing.
Yeah.
That had basically the same effect, but there is no way for a city to augment that, change that.
So the remaining difference between $12.79 is all earmarked for other entities. You would have to essentially convince the other entities to give you that tax dollar.
So you can't attempt to convince them.
I mean, they have the right to do that. I mean, there's nothing that says maybe the county couldn't catch you a check for $100,000. There's nothing.
Sure.
Good luck with that, because they have to take much process, the problems we do.
So we pay $12 per thousand and we get back less than $1 per thousand, and that other $11 goes to the state parks, wherever.
No, it's all local.
It's all local.
County, county, those are the two big ones.
Everybody.
County, you got various districts, there's a whole laundry list on your bill,
Yeah,
it's on your tax.
Time to redemption.
that's,
Feel free, heck, all y'all just go down to county court and say they want to know.
yeah. Didn't work back then.
Most of it goes to school.
Yeah, a good chunk goes to school district.
And there's like,
And one
There's
dollar
like-
10 cents goes to us for the bond.
there's like 4 students here.
Yeah, right, right.
Maybe there's 5 or 6, I don't know.
Maybe pull out a 5J if you
When I
do
moved
that.
here, there was 2.
Yeah, well, or just go to Leather County or something like that, who knows?
But there's no cure for that.
What's that?
There's no cure for that. There's no way to recoup that from the.
Not with the permanent rates were established. You're in tax the end, you're always in tax. That's it. The only way to do that would be to get a coalition of voters to dissolve the district and then reform it with new boundaries. It's been discussed
It won't
on various entities, so, but, I mean, are you gonna get all the 5J residents to say,
No.
let's dissolve this? That's,
Somebody gets a free ride here.
oh, for sure, are you guys paying a disproportionate amount?
We're paying
For sure.
for Baker's kids or
Yeah.
some other town,
Absolutely,
cause we got 4 of them and they got 70, you know,
absolutely.
thousands.
Yeah.
Robin Hood deal.
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with you on that, it's just the mechanism to change is really difficult.
We don't have light.
No.
Don't have to look anywhere.
Well, I think we ought to do the levy. I mean, do the levy that we all people would vote.
Like I said, it's totally in, you gotta go. I'm sure that someone can provide assistance, or you probably need to get a lead to do this. I think the city can provide some assistance on general structure on how to do that, as far as filing with the county by certain deadlines. I've done it before. It's not super hard. It's just you have to follow the deadlines. Also the county clerk, Stephanie Kirby, she is very knowledgeable on that and will give you the manual. She wants to lead that. The problem for the city is the city cannot advocate. They cannot spend any dollars for the public district at all. Just make sure that's.
So Rob, can we spend any time on it?
No,
Since we
that's
pay-
dollars, because you're paying for them to do
We're
it.
not
If
paying.
your city council wants to volunteer
I mean, we can
their time, of
volunteer.
course they can assist in that. The city cannot expend public funds to
Right.
support it either way. If the city wants to provide information, they can, and they can do that at their cost. It has to be balanced information. It can't be like, you should do this. It is, hey, if we do this, this happens. If you don't do this, this happens.
We can assist.
Yes.
If that's because we stay here for free.
Yes. You can't spend public dollars. You can't do it.
She can do it. She can do it.
Does that mean it raises our taxes?
It would raise your tax.
And then more money would go to other places, we're just gonna get a little bit.
Nope. If you do a levy,
Mhm.
that amount is designated.
Let's see.
It is not split up between the other districts.
So if you do a levy, you levy all properties individually, like
Yes.
all these lots here are 50 feet wide. How many is it? There's way more than 409.
That's just
There's
part of
409.
that.
There are over 700 lots in town. There are
Okay.
409 property owners. And I'm gonna go on the record right now, let's skip. And I'm gonna say
me as a water user, I have to pay this fee, but people who have lots here part-time don't have to pay
Correct.
because they're getting fire support, they're getting street support. This is crap. It's gotta be elected. I'm sorry.
And the property tax is the way to get some of that back.
Yeah, I mean, it's you guys getting.
If you charge individual properties,
Everybody.
rather, there's 700 and something lots, individual,
Over 70.
and there's 409 property owners.
Mhm.
When I looked it up 2 months ago.
So somebody else, there's somebody skating there also.
Yeah, there's 109 people. If there's 300 water and sewer users, there's 109 people who won't be paying. But they're getting the benefits of the streets and the fire.
If you did.
That's their property taxes.
He's
right?
saying if you did.
I'm talking
I'm trying
about,
to make. Let's unwind the.
Yeah.
He's advocating for property taxes because everybody's included. If council were to implement a public safety fee or something like it, then 109 people would not have to pay. That's what he's saying.
Okay, if you charge a fee for unused, people don't have connect, a monthly fee for that. And can you do that?
It's really hard.
Per lot, per,
We can't.
Can you? Yes. It's very hard.
it's a,
Yeah, try to collect it.
Yeah.
it's like OTEC does, they'll charge you because it's available, it's out there.
Some places that are very small, like we do the most for the city, Unity charges an availability fee.
Well, where
You
I
have
come,
water line, water to your property,
where I come from, had a water company, the public utility was owned by Giant Water. And they had gone to the trouble to go to the state and make it a utility. And in the end, the state basically required him to charge, what they call it, but he had to pay a fee per lot. Another place like this, empty lots everywhere.
yeah, and that's because.
In fact, I had to pay that on.
Because the amount of water you use is inconsequential. The cost of living.
And then another thing, when are we getting our water meters?
So we're not talking about
I
water
mean,
today,
we're
let's.
talking about-
Yeah,
no water.
well, on that note, you have multiple people, and that we talked about this, watering multiple tax lots on one bill. And I think if somebody wants to water 4 different tax lots on one bill, they should get 4 bills at the minimum rate.
Read the meters.
Okay, we're not gonna do water.
My hope is to avoid the water through the we're just trying to focus on general.
Just,
I mean, you wanna know how to make money, that's
well, I know.
What's the avenue right there?
But this is how overall we can.
Well, I'm
trying to
so we can look into the charging a fee, because the services are out there available for you to use.
Yeah.
But you're not using.
Yeah, many of the other entities that I work with have implemented some kind of availability insurance.
So that's something we can do, and then that money would go to the general fund.
There is a lot of legwork associated with it.
Yeah, that's
In a
how-
very small town like Unity, there's 30 accounts. It's really easy to keep track. There's 119, as Matt just said.
So how hard is it to do, how hard is it to implement that?
It's
They can require
easy to
market.
implement, it's hard to enforce.
Mhm.
So you have to go through the records to find who owns what property. And then you have to send them a bill.
But Rob,
But the records are all down there in the book. Are they not?
Not for the empty lots that don't have water and sewer.
Okay.
They're in the book without the county, so you actually have to have
Yeah.
that paperwork.
but Rob,
I mean, they tax, county tax those blocks.
So you have to.
They don't do that block because there's so many homeowners, they do it per
Correct.
unit.
That's my point, is you actually have to go to paperwork. Tell them you have to do that to get all that.
Yeah.
but Rob, on that.
It's not impossible. It's not impossible.
But for what Skippy's talking about, of you're gonna charge these lot owners for water and sewer that they don't have, that would go back to water and sewer, not general fund, correct?
Absolutely. Which
And that's-
is not the focus, yeah.
That's not
focus on.
That's not, that's
That
what,
can't go to the general fund?
No,
Water.
because you're paying for the water, what are you paying for? You're paying for the water and sewer infrastructure. General fund is just everything else.
Are we rich on water and sewer fund? Okay.
Now, we're doing fine now. But if you want to expand, there are but this is not about that. We'll have another meeting on water and sewer.
Yeah.
Truly,
That
I mean,
meeting will
the whole
come.
point is to be transparent, right?
So some of you guys own more than one, so when you get your tax bill, some people get 3 tax bills for 3 different lots that you have. Each one of those will have an attached levy if you go that way. So however many tax lots you have, if you wanna incorporate it all.
Then you get everybody paying.
Then everybody would pay.
That has
If
a
I own
tax
3
law.
tax lots.
Everybody that has a tax law.
I get 3 tax.
They didn't have anything working from, they didn't have anything called a tax law.
So anybody who's got a tax lot gets the tax for that.
And
in the
there's a
mail.
record, that's all recorded.
And that's according to what Matt just said, there's 409 people with tax lots. In the
There's more
city.
now.
Oh, 400
Property owners.
Property owners.
Property owners.
Oh,
There's
property.
another-
Different things.
Maybe a property owner.
They
that
all
owns
together
it
different
all.
things.
Okay, guys, one at a time. Lord.
So it's just, it's just how many tax bills you get, that's how many levy pieces you're gonna get on
Well,
each
that's what's
one.
happening to them now. They pay taxes per,
Per whatever lot.
and if the city adds to that somehow, I don't know, Frosty.
Levy, yeah.
Levy.
So everybody who
But
owns
then
a tax.
everybody gets paid.
Yeah, even if they don't pay.
That's because road goes by your house a few years, but, you know, I mean.
So it's not just water, sewer users, empty lot, people that don't have the
It's
services,
like
every
the
tax.
city's out there, none of it's worth anything. It's
Would
great,
it
it's
be
great.
assessed at the value of the property or just a flat?
You can, so it'd be assessed based on, it's that per thousand. So you take your assessed value, let's just say it's $1.60. You guys are gonna decide what that number is, but let's just say it's $1.60. So you take that assessed value, divide by 1,000, multiply by 1.
But the county's already done that. They have an assessed value.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I got 3 lots and I paid 3, write 3 separate checks and make sure they got the right numbers on.
We're not reinventing the wheel. That's the thing. If you can implement a general fund fee or public safety fee, you're reinventing the wheel because you're making your own process. Instead, we're just tagging onto the process that already exists.
A lot of people won't even notice it, it's in the bill, or they're gonna look at it individually.
They'll notice it on the ballot.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
What's
This
the
is not
problem?
an easy
Yeah.
thing to do.
But the thing is though, that the people are saying that they would prefer to have taxes go up if we could, because that's what I'm hearing.
There's about 300 people saying this.
Well,
Yeah.
well, the thing is though, is what I'm saying though, is when you have certain people here saying that if we could increase and get more of our property tax back, then doing a levy would be way better, because you're not giving any, it's more, well, it's equal to the people in Sumter, but at least that money in a levy stays in the city of Sumter and doesn't go to Baker.
Yeah, see, we're subsidizing all those people. That's what's going on.
For the
Yeah,
levy.
The levy will keep it all in house.
What's going on now, the way it is now, we are subsidizing, subsidizing.
Right, everybody
Yes,
else.
and some of them in more ways than one. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Do anybody have more questions for Rob or?
I think Matt gave be the guideline for that.
Okay. All right.
Did he say yes?
I
heard him say.
I said, okay.
Yes.
Oh,
You all heard yes.
yeah, we all heard him.
This is what we have to be on it.
Yeah.
Have to be on the ballot, have to be. What do we have to be on the ballot?
You got like a little question, you don't, you got the property on.
Yeah, it has to be voted on. Has to. There's no way around it.
So if it goes.
The next one.
You gotta read that.
Yeah, but I think that's when they're having the general.
Yeah, I think there's a gentleman in November. Check us that. Somebody needs to check us that.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was.
So what's one of our options if it goes on the ballot, it fails?
And we're back to square one. We're back to
I
square one.
can tell you a number of districts who've lost on these things and you can call them and see what they did.
Yeah.
Now, most of them, so the last 2 that I'm aware of started brand new levies, ultimately passed, they failed the first 2 times.
That's what I hear, 'cause I think it's just getting everybody educated to understand and everybody spread the proper message out there. to support it, and this is why it's gonna be a benefit.
So in order to even get the meters, we have to get a feasibility study, the heritage study done, and we don't have the money from here.
But the thing is,
Sorry, I was budget matters, I
when
think
it-
to bring up water and sewer.
Yeah, I know.
when it, for instance, our snow plowing, that's a big deal. And it's a service in which the city is giving to the city as of today.
Yeah.
However, because if by law, we don't have to plow streets. So we can suck that back to where we only plow a little bit at a time. Well, the thing is,
This group is here and worried about the snowplow continuing.
which they should be, because this is something that the city is a service of. But the city does not have to give it to them. The same with our fire department, we don't have to give it to you. But the thing is there's nobody here who wants to see it go away. We need to make revenue.
But
And
hey,
if we're not-
do you benefit personally by snow plowing?
I plow for individuals.
Yes, but do you benefit? So it's almost a conflict of interest for you to tell the city not to do snow plowing. Yeah.
I'm not telling the city
Second
not to
that.
plow, I'm just saying that we might have to as a city, to where we're gonna have to back off on it a little bit. Instead of making freeways out of our snow plowing, I know of a person who plowed the streets back in the day. He had a single grader with a wing on it, and he used to plow the city out under contract, and he used to do it between 6 and 8 hours a day. Done. Every time it plows. That's the way that is. Today, our guys go out there, they plow, they're making super freeways out of it. It's taking them anywhere from 10 to 12 hours a day for 2 people running, and then turning around and cleaning up the following day because they didn't get to the height measure.
So Charlie, I feel like that's an opportunity for maybe city council to work on the operations in the city to make it cheaper.
Well, that's okay, what I'm saying.
If the streets were actually 60 and 80 feet wide, instead of fences in them and other crap in the streets, they could plow a lot faster and have nothing in their way to go around. And if you cleared the trees, you've got that grant for fuels reduction. If you get the trees out of the streets, it would be a racetrack.
Okay, guys, we're gonna stop this right here. Because snow plowing, we're not gonna discuss when and how. We're trying to discuss putting money into the general fund to keep supporting what we consider essential services.
Yeah, but I don't think council's suggesting in any way that we're gonna stop.
Yeah, but we
right?
just need to dial, but we need to dial this back, and what we're here tonight for is ideas to get some money into general fund to keep doing what is essential to the city.
But what we're talking about is saving money.
Yeah,
Saving money is
Okay.
cutting overhead, you're making money now.
so, but we're trying to find some solutions too. So let's, because I mean, we know we have issues with snow plowing. We gotta go.
What comes out of jail?
Yeah, I know, but as far as the.
Huh?
Snow plowing comes out of road.
No, general fund.
The street fund runs at a loss, and the only way to subsidize that was general fund dollars.
But I mean, I guess we can't make any decisions tonight anyway, but obviously the levy would impact everybody, including the absentee people that own property, basically.
Sherry's had her hand up.
Yeah, oh, sure. I can't see her.
One thing I've said before, and this is coming into Sumter from bigger towns, is we only pay $5 for a burn permit. That revenue goes to the fire department. I use it. I mean, we bring brush down pine needles and stuff. $5 is nothing, right? I've lived in other cities where every time I brought my pickup truck through their gate, I paid $25 because you had to go to the landfill. I've suggested, and it's up to you guys to pass it around, but I've suggested instead of $5, make the burn permit 15, make it $20. What's $15? It's 3 Starbucks coffees. But it's $15 per person that buys a burn permit going to the fire department.
And we have to deal with the pile down there. It's just getting huger and huger and huger, and we need to haul it to the landfill. And I've talked to Artie Mack, I've already told these guys, I'll talk to Artie Mack, they'll do a backhaul for $200 with doubles, you just gotta load it.
Okay.
So
That's what, yeah, then,
money has to be made for
okay,
that.
yeah. Matt, you said you had that.
Just back on the levy thing, I just did some rough numbers, not based on per thousand, but if we needed $80,000 a year. 80,000 divided by 700 would be $114. So a year, per year.
5 years.
That's the average.
So that's just less than $10 a year. There's 700 lots of debt.
And each individual can figure this out by looking at their tax bill, multiplying their assessed value. Or dividing their assessed value by 1,000 and multiplying it by 1.6. For example, you guys get the. That's your actual cost.
If you're gonna look at that, Matt.
Pardon?
You do that.
I have to ruminate on that for a while.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
We got the intelligence for it, I know,
Does anybody else have any more questions for Rob or?
So on the bird permit, why can we just go ahead and vote on that now, or you have?
No, but this is a public meeting, we can't vote on
They
anything.
can vote on it next year.
Everything has to be moved to council, we can't vote on anything, that's why I'm just taking notes. Because this is not.
And a burn permit is a perfect example of something you do directly to the general fund, because the fire is subsidized, those are, so you increase the revenue the fire makes.
Yeah, put that on the.
Yes, and
Put that on
You
the-
almost need a card reader or something on the brain pad, because how many people are dumping in there that don't have permits?
Well, it's back to the same thing, the honest people will do it. Honest,
That's it. The honest people.
we have no, I mean, we could put cameras up there and see who's coming in and out, but I mean, again, who's gonna I mean, it's.
Levy.
Then why don't you just put it right on the city water bill? You just make everybody pay it.
That has been recommended too. Yeah.
Kurt, I'm confused, but nothing new. When we get a burn permit, it's for the burn pile, or is it for the residents that go out and burn at home?
For both, isn't
For
it?
both.
Well,
It's the burn permit,
Because I always-
it's more for the residents burning at home,
yeah,
is what that burn permit is.
And that's what I thought it was, but then it's like, and then this conversation goes to our burn pile. Because.
The burn pile is for, it's safer for everything to bring it there and it be burned in one spot than 15 piles of pine needles burning in your yard, and in the middle of your burn, you take off your houses.
yeah.
And then you get called.
I mean,
So would it be better for us to, so we targeted everybody instead of just the people that are at home
Yeah.
to have
Everybody.
to have a burn?
I mean, even if it stayed $5 for the burn permit, but everybody was targeted. Because how many burn permits did you sell last year?
No.
Not very many.
There was 25.
Yeah, it's a very small.
So you $20, that price piece of that 15 for the file.
So can I say, why don't you guys talk amongst everybody in town and come to council have somebody come to council and say, this is what the populace would feel is fair. Bring your suggestion to us. If you think it should go on the water bill and it should stay $5, somebody come tell us and say, hey, we've kind of talked to people, our neighbors. This is what we think. Bring it to city council. But at least then it's your decision.
It can't go on the water cycle.
It could go on the water bill, right, Rob?
Oh, okay, so let's just address that real quick. So just because it's
Okay,
on,
guys.
because it's on the water sewer bill, doesn't mean it's a water sewer fund charge. If we can put, like the fire, the burn permit, we can put that on the water sewer bill and still give it to the fire. We could.
Water sewer bill is a way to, it's a
It's just a mechanism to get it out.
Yeah.
We have a database of
Delivery, it's
people.
the delivery. Yeah.
Yeah. We can do that with anything. Like I said, there's inherent unfairness in like a public safety fee, but we could do that on water sewer.
But it should
And
be.
it would go to the general fund if we earmark from general fund.
There's several properties up here that have conditional use permits with no services, but still have campfires going all the time. Those particular properties should be paying for the burn permit.
But you're only reaching the ones who get a water and sewer bills. So you gotta-
Well, need to reach them out, though, if they're a taxpayer in the city limits.
Yeah, you gotta find a way to reach all.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be-
ways though, because Oregon Department of Forestry said they could give me 709 self-addressed envelopes for property owners for every piece of property that's owned by somebody in Sumter in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If
They
you could get that
they
from them,
overlay,
do it.
well, I know, well. I gotta- That was all fire related stuff they would do.
Wendy, you had,
But if they can do it, there's other, somebody else has gotta be able to. do it.
They're paying for the time for somebody to do that data graph.
Yeah.
Let them do it and get it.
yeah.
I would 100% do that.
That's where I got my number. True.
One of the things,
They're
Okay, guys,
funded by all their people. that pay
Sure.
them. They make a lot.
one of the things when I lived back east is when you get your permit to use the transfer station, which is where you dump your trash, you have to get a window sticker. In order to use that, and you weren't allowed to use it. So for the burn pile, maybe we implement a window sticker for people along with their burn permit in order to use the city pile.
Probably more.
Well, we got some of us, but at least they're paid for it.
Okay,
Baby.
Hey guys, Rebecca had
Yeah, well, this kind of goes to what Kurt was saying. I know we usually get 3 burn permits if there's any 3 of our properties we may be burning on. So just send it per property owner, $5, serving this community.
We also get the people that go to our burn pile too, that's not in city limits.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we get people from
But again, it's something that we don't have the access to.
Baldwin Ridge and stuff.
So I'm gonna go back. Does anybody have any more questions for Rob? A lot of this stuff is gonna have to be moved to council, because like I say, we can't make any decisions at this point. But I want so Rob can go home.
No, I mean, you can ensure it. The whole point was to share the
Yeah.
information, get ideas going, and I think we've accomplished that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you carried it very well.
yeah. Okay, so it is 8:02. 8:02.
Motion we were in.
Okay.
You said I.
Thank you, Rob.
Oh.
Thank you, everybody. Oh,
Yeah. A second.
Yeah,
I know.
Really wrong.
I think